All right, we're live. It's Wednesday. How is
Hi,
everybody?
everybody.
Anne's back.
Long
She doesn't
time
have to
no
work
see.
today. So
I know, right?
I know, because otherwise Anne's working, and that's stupid. Working's stupid, I think.
That's stupid. Can somebody just, I need like $2,000 a month. Is that too much to ask? Just everybody should give me everybody give me $1, I know, and then I can parlay that into not working.
Yeah, you could just crowdfund that. What's the one thing that you do that you crowdfund? What's it called?
I can't remember.
Okay,
But I don't
GoFundMe. Is
have,
that it?
oh,
GoFundMe?
it's
Is that it?
GoFundMe. Yeah.
Okay,
GoFundMe
yeah.
so I don't have to work.
GoFundMe, so I don't have to work. I think that could work. We just all give each other dollars, and
Hmm.
just I think it's
Exactly.
smart. Yep, I,
I
I
think
would
so
do
too.
that too. I'll send you
Well,
$1. We'll
thanks.
do the ultimate chain letter. So that's
I don't want to work. Give me money.
give me money. So here we are on a Wednesday, and so last week, Ann Brothers, or maybe it was the week before, you sent me a link from MLive, which is Michigan's news thing. I don't know. It's like a
Hmm.
conglomeration of all the different news outlets, and it's on the interweb. But it was the list of the top 20 natural wonders in the state of Michigan, and I have to admit, I disagreed vehemently with many things on their list because I got to tell you, I've been to many of those things on the list, and I think some of them are completely lame. So I'm not gonna, if you want to go look at that list, you can. Okay, Sleeping Bear Dudes is great,
Yeah,
but
but
it's
number one,
number
really?
one,
Number
really,
one?
and
Yeah, that's what I
frankly,
thought too.
the Osable Dunes in the UP, I think are even cooler. Log slide, anyone? Anyway,
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
we're gonna feature the log
no,
slide eventually. So
yeah.
anyway, I thought it was interesting, their list. I disagreed vehemently with it, but what are you going to do? Lists are all about getting mad at anyway. That's one of the reasons I love a good list, because then we can fight about it. So
That's so wrong. Yeah.
it's entirely wrong. So we decided today to talk about the thing that should be number one on the list, but is number 13 on the list.
I know. I couldn't believe that. I was like, how is this not number one? It's crazy.
It is. So we're discussing Isle Royale National Park today, which, according to MLive and their 20 Natural Wonders of Michigan, is number 13. Um, it's the capital of lame, in my opinion. So I thought, okay, now here's the thing. And we're going to talk about some COVID related stuff. And actually, this works out that we're talking about it this summer because you can't, Isle Royale is currently closed because of COVID. And though they're going to be opening up the facilities and the island itself will be opening up on Friday, really the only thing that's opened up are the trails, your ability to camp, do the backpack camping, and
Hmm.
if you can get yourself there via private boat or seaplane, because none of the ferries are going to be running. None of the lodging or anything like that's going to be open, but we'll talk about it in a minute, which is fine because you do need time to prepare to get to Isle Royale. So now we're going to talk about it. You're going to take copious notes, and then you're going to go next summer because it's so worth your time. But you do need to plan. So
Yeah.
if you want, Ann
It's
Brothers,
not a day trip.
it's not a day trip, though you can day trip. Um, you can
Why?
day trip only if you want to bucket list it. Like, for instance, I went for a day trip last summer because A, I like it there, and B, I can't always stay for an extended period of time. But I was talking to the nice young lady that runs the boat out of Grand Portage, and she thought it was interesting that I had come back more than once for a day trip, because she's like, most of the people that do that only come back once because they simply want to check it off their bucket list and away they go. I'm like, that's lame. So anyway, let's go ahead and talk about. Let's get this on screen. Let's. Oops. I accidentally unshared mine. Whoopsie. There it is. It's Isle Royale National Park. And you'll notice one of the things I've put here is that I truly believe that it is worth your time, your energy, and your money.
Oh,
So let's get started. All
I
right.
was going to
So
say,
to
I've been
start
to
with,
a number of national parks, and I would go to Isle Royale and Carlsbad Cavern a thousand times.
correct. Now I made an assumption here, Ann. I said it's our favorite national park.
It
It's
is.
my, yeah. So anyway, Isle Royale. Now, one quick thing, you guys, I want to show you. It is spelled Royale, but it's not Royale. For whatever reason, it's Royal.
It's
So
French. It's
it's French.
French.
Yeah. So it's not,
It's spelled
you
in the
know,
French way.
if you're gonna pronounce Isle Royal, pronounce it correctly, or at least like the locals do, so they'll, you'll at least sound knowledgeable or whatever. All right. So here we are. It's a national park. It's an island. It's a single island that's about 45 miles long, but there's also like 200 smaller islands in and around and tucked into the inlets and around and so forth. So it's a one big island and a bunch of smaller islands. It is one of the least visited national parks in the U.S. I want to say it's the second least visited in the lower 48. There's some park in Texas I think is less visited, and then there's a couple of parks in Alaska there. But other than that, it's not very, it's not easy to get to, and that's why a lot of people don't bother. But I would tell you right now, bother with it because it's worth it. Okay, what's that, Ann?
Oh, I was just thinking, sometimes I'm like, if you don't want to go, that's fine with me because then you won't be there when I'm there, and I like that.
Nah. And that's one of the best reasons to go to this park is that it's and we'll talk about it in a second. But anyway, as far as where it is, I've got a map right here. It's in Lake Superior. You can kind of see it right here. I'm circling it with the cursor. It's about 55 miles north and west of the UP. So here's the Keweenaw Peninsula right here in the UP. So there you go. And it's about 18 miles east of the Minnesota and Canada border. So you can see that right here in Grand Portage. This is probably one of the last Minnesota towns before you get to Canada. And it's just like I said, it's a really cool place. It's geologically interesting. I love it. All right, so there's a little bit bigger picture. It's a little bit easier to see there. Why you should go. Number one, it's not easy to get there, and that's part of the fun. It is as Lake Superior gets. If you've ever been up to Lake Superior, you'll know that there's a particular look that it has, and it does. It's rocky, it's craggy. There's lots of trees. It's rough. Tons of weather up there. If you want a little kind of a, and the thing is, people have existed on this island for centuries because even though it's rugged, it's also been a place where people have gravitated towards. There's lots of moose there. Go ahead.
Also, if you're interested in botany or anything botanical, it's one of the few places in Michigan where you can experience boreal forest, which you usually have to go further north to experience. So not the whole island, but there's a section of it that would be considered boreal forest, which is really, you're like, that's the type of thing you see in Russia. It's just really cool, that sort of thing. So that's one of the things that I was like, this is so cool. So
it is. It's an island for nerds. That's all I know, and that's good enough for me. You can find wolves there. We're going to talk a little bit about the wolves a little bit more when we talk about things to consider. They've been adding wolves over the last couple of years and trying to save the wolf population. There is an overabundance of moose on the island, and it's really interesting. When you go and visit the island, you can go to the little nature talks, and they kind of talk about the difference in vegetation with the overabundance of moose and how that's affecting the island itself. And that is really fascinating. I had no idea. So having those wolves on the island is a really big deal. As far as other notable species, loons, lots of loons. There's fox, there's squirrels, there's
big horse, or what is it? The big rabbits, the big snowshoe rabbits.
Oh, snowshoe rabbits. Yeah. Big, like the size of a fox rabbit. It's like rabbits that are actually kind of intimidating.
Yeah. Like, I want to squeeze one so bad.
Don't do that. As far as if you're an outdoorsy type, this is heaven. Canoeing, it's backpacker heaven. It's renowned for its backpacking and sea kayaking. What's also, and this is what Ann was talking about, my point down towards the bottom, it is not a sea of humanity. So if you go to Yellowstone and Yosemite, it is, and like places like Glacier, they're just seas of humanity, especially during the summer when everybody goes. And it actually makes for a kind of an unpleasant experience. What's nice about Isle Royal is that it is not a sea of humanity. There's real limits as far as how many people can be there, how many ferries, can get people there. So there's a lot of time where you're not with a bunch of other people on Isle Royal, which is amazing, which is, when you think about reasons why you would want to go to a national park, kind of getting away from humanity is kind of one of the nice things about it. So that's one of the best reasons. In terms of challenge, there's something for everybody. There's something for every level. Look, Peters. He's been to Isle Royale. He knows. He's been there. He's hiked there. He's canoed there. Yeah, he's had blueberry wine there. Yummy. But in terms of challenge, there's something for everybody. So if you're super athletic and outdoorsy, you can backpack, you can hike, you can kayak, you can canoe, you can do that. But if you're getting to be a little older and maybe, backpacking, back and forth across the 45-mile, 9-mile wide island is not your thing, then you could go to the Rock Harbor side and you can stay in a comfortable lodge or a comfortable cottage. And then you can take shorter day hikes, or you can charter one of the water taxis that'll take you around and kind of tour you that way. So there's literally something for every person and every fitness level and every age at Isle Royale, depending on what you want to do and where you want to do it. So I myself no longer enjoy sleeping on the ground. So my backpacking days they're over. So I like
the first time Jenny and I went, I thought, oh man, we should be backpacking and doing this the real way. And then that night it rained. I mean, it rained all night. And it was like, I'm in my bed and it's warm. Yay. So,
we stayed at the, well, it's so funny because Joe and I had gone that first summer we went to Isle Royale. Earlier in the summer, Joe and I had done that work in Hawaii where we basically camped the whole time we were out there, and it rained, pretty much every day. And so you got used to, getting rained on in your tent. And so that first night that we were there and we were tucked into our little cottage and I was all snug as a bug and listening to the rain on the roof, I'm like, this is the greatest.
Don't forget about the Hawaiian cucarachas.
Yeah, there were so many cockroaches in Hawaii. I was just literally, I camped on top of millions of cockroaches. I'm surprised to this day they're not coming out of my ear. I don't like to talk about that. Anyway.
See, another reason why Isle Royale is great, there are no cockroaches there because in the winter it's too darn cold.
Too freaking cold. So anyway, that's a great reason to go. How to get there. Now you do have choices for how to get there, but it's tricky. And this is why planning is incredibly important. You can take your own boat. You can take a sailboat. You can take a large craft of some sort. You can dock in Wendigo. You can dock in Rock Harbor. Just know that they do charge you. You need a permit, and they do charge you for docking. So keep that in mind. You can take there are several ferries that can get you there. I'm going to talk about those ferries in just a minute. And they depart from different cities and they go to either the Rock Harbor or Wendigo side. You can take a seaplane. That's right. There's a seaplane company that flies out there. One thing you do not want to do, and though people get all excited because Isle Royale is only 12 miles from, or maybe it's 18 miles. It's 12 to 8, it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 miles from that Minnesota shoreline. So people are like, I know, I'll take my personal watercraft. Don't do that. That's stupid. Some guy did that last year, and it was just dumb luck that a freighter happened upon him. He did not die. He literally had enough signal where he managed to call somebody and say, hey, can you call the police for me and tell them I'm in the middle of Lake Superior because I tried to take my personal watercraft to Isle Royale. He ran out of gas. And so that was, like I said, just absolute dumb luck that a large freighter happened upon him and rescued him. Don't take your personal watercraft. Come on, man. All right. There's 2 ports at Isle Royale. Rock Harbor, which is on the northeast portion of the island. It's the more modern. It's where there's the lodge and the hotel. They have modern cabins. They have a restaurant. It's pretty well equipped with a small grocery store where you can get some groceries. And when I say small, I do mean small. And there's some groceries and hiking supplies there. You can get a thing of Chips Ahoy cookies there if you wanted to, for instance. You can get beer there.
Or a T-shirt.
Or a T-shirt, yes. There's also a National Park Visitor Center there.
We should get a T-shirt.
You can also get a T-shirt. And, spend your money at the National Park store. Come on, it's all right. The Wendigo side is more rustic. It's the southwest part of the island. Rustic camping only. They do have a couple of what they call camper cabins. I'll talk about those in a minute. There's no modern lodging campgrounds. There are some sleeping shelters. If you're going to poop in a little, what do you call them, poop hits? a
Pit
poop
toilet.
pit toilet. Thank you. There's a small
Mhm.
visitor center on the Wendigo side, and there's a small store with an even smaller store with a few basics. So if you're really going to rough it, you're probably going to start out on the Wendigo side. That's, just so you know. Not that you can't rough it from the Rock Harbor side, because you can easily hit all of those hiking trails from the Rock Harbor side and do whatever you need to do. This is just showing you, so the red dot represents the Rock Harbor portion of the island, and then all the way on the other side, in this little inlet right here, is the green dot. That's the Wendigo side. Again, Rock Harbor more modern, Wendigo more rustic. How you get there? There's 4 different ferries that you can take. The Ranger 3 is the only one that's run by the National Park Service. It's the largest. It departs from Houghton, Michigan. That's your longest trip. It takes about 6 hours on that ferry to get from Houghton to either Rock Harbor or Wendigo. It goes to both, and they only do overnight trips, no day trips. It really is impressive, and this is a lot of how the island gets its supplies. It gets it from the Ranger. So the Ranger runs almost every day of the week, and at some point around the island.
Jenny, may I break in for a moment?
Do it.
Next time we go to Isle Royale, we're taking that.
We are?
Yes.
Okay.
Just, why not? It seems so cool, and we haven't done it yet.
No, that's the big one. It's got the big comfy seats too.
Exactly. I was like, plus it's from Houghton. That gives us a chance to like spend the night in Houghton, check out Houghton, and then get up in the morning and take a nice 6-hour boat ride.
You know what? I have to be honest with you. I love the boat ride. That's half the fun for me, is that I really enjoy being on the boat. I like being out on the decks. I like being on the water for sure. Even though the water can be rocking and rolling. We'll talk about that in a second. This is the one that I've been on. I've been on the Isle Royale Queen a couple of times. Nice little boat. They do a great job. They really have, I will say this about all of these ferries, they really have their poop in the group. They know what they are doing. So make sure, if you're going to take one of these ferries, that whatever they tell you to do, you do it. If they tell you that they're leaving at 8, they're leaving at 8. You better be there. They're not waiting. They have a schedule to run, and they run it. It's very much, they run on a schedule. It's so the Isle Royale Queen 4, it's the one that departs from Copper Harbor, Michigan. So it's at the very tip top of Michigan. That's where it leaves from. It's about a 3.5 to 4 hour trip. I want to say it's 40 miles. No, 50 miles. It only goes to Rock Harbor, and it offers both overnight and day trips. But again, I don't know why you would go for the day, especially if you have a 4-hour boat ride. The nice thing about we'll talk about it in a second. This is one of the 2 ferries that runs out of Grand Portage, Minnesota. This is they're larger of their 2 boats. It's the Voyager 2. You can take it to either Wendigo or Rock Harbor. They usually drop off on Wendigo and then finish their trip to Rock Harbor, depending on where you want to go. They offer only overnight trips. So they usually go to Wendigo and drop off or pick up, and they go to Rock Harbor, drop off and pick up, and then they head back to Minnesota. And then finally, the Sea Hunter. This is the one I've taken a couple of times. This also runs out of Grand Portage. It's the same company that runs this one right here, the Voyager 2. It's about a 90-minute trip to the island from Grand Portage, because they go only to Wendigo, and they pretty much they do the Sea Hunter. No, the Sea Hunter only does, I have a misprint there. The Sea Hunter only does day trips. And it's a nice little boat. It holds about 40 people. And again, great little boat. Reasonable. Well, I don't know if reasonably priced, but anyway, this is a little map that shows you the different routes. But it's nice. All right, where to stay? Again, you guys, depending on what you're looking for. If you're looking for something a little more modern, then you're definitely going to want to stay in Rock Harbor. Ooh, look, we have a question, concern, or a comment. Ruby. She was making fun of me because I said poop earlier. That's right, because I said poop hits. You can tell Leah's a 7th grade science teacher because she thinks the word poop is funny.
Yeah, it is.
It is funny. Okay, good. Where was I? Oh, that's right. I was talking about. So when you stay at the Rock Harbor Lodge, all of the rooms have lakeside views. They're king beds or 2 doubles, and you have your own nice private bathroom, so you don't have to share with anybody. Now, as far as I'm concerned, if you're going to go and you want to be comfortable, you stay at the cottages, okay? This is the big main room of the cottage, has these comfy chairs, and it's got a big window. They have a well-equipped kitchenette. So it pretty much has everything. It has silverware, it has cups, it has plates, it has everything you need. Small refrigerator, coffee maker, microwave. It's got comfy beds. They've got like a pull-out bed, and they got some bunk beds, and they have a nice bathroom with a bathtub and shower and flushing toilets and all the stuff. You get clean towels and sheets. It's like a hotel. It's nice. Those can accommodate 4 to 6 people, but it's better if you just have 4 or less, as far as I'm concerned. On the Wendigo side, backpacking is available. When you go to the Wendigo side, there's a pretty good sized campground that's tucked kind of way back as you hike. And they've got a couple of places in those campgrounds where they have some rustic shelters so that you could throw your sleeping bags in there and kind of sleep, quote unquote, at least with a roof over your head. Those are all first come, first serve. They don't do any reservations on that. So you check in. When you get there, you check in, you tell them you're there, and then you go get your spot. They've also built 2 camper cabins at Wendigo. These are fairly new. And the way these work is they've got a futon and a couple of bunk beds. There's no kitchenette or anything like that. It's basically a place if you've been backpacking and you want something with a roof over your head and something a little nicer with some places to sit. There's no, as you can see, this is what they look like. There's no bathrooms inside or anything like that. But they're a little nicer. They have a barbecue outside so that you can barbecue, but there's a pit toilet just a short walk away, so you have to go do your poop in there. Look, Leah, I said poop again. So anyway, those are the things to remember in terms of where you're going to stay. Things to consider. This is the beat of it, you guys. This is the important thing. Number one, you need to plan ahead. That's why we're talking about it this summer. Even though everything at Isle Royale is essentially closed this summer, you need to, if you're interested in going, start planning now. All right. The ferry and the lodging space are very limited. They only give out X number of permits to backpack every year. So you need to plan ahead. When the trips that we've taken, we've scheduled our lodging and our ferry and stuff like in February before the summer even starts. The weather and the water can be dicey at times, so you might want to pack some Dramamine. The crossing can be, I've had it where it's just crystal clear and completely smooth, and I've had other trips that have been super bouncy, so which is not awesome sometimes.
No, we had one with like 4-foot swells. Ugh, that was something else.
Yeah. Remember that poor guy? He was like literally laying at the back of the boat, just laying at the back of the boat,
laying
just
on the ground, like on the floor of the boat,
gripping the thing, because I think he was doing some vomiting out there. Pretty sure.
I'm sure he was.
Yep. When you're taking the ferries leave early in the morning, so you need to, you might need to do your lodging some overnight. So for instance, if you're leaving from that 8 o'clock ferry at Copper Harbor, you might want to consider spending the night in Copper Harbor. And they have lots of nice little hotels in Copper Harbor. It's not bad. So you might want to think about that. As far as Grand Portage, there's not a lot of lodging in Grand Portage, Minnesota. So you might want to consider staying in Grand Marais or one of those resorts up along Highway 61 there. The ferry rides can be chilly and wet, especially if you're like me and you really like to hang out outside. So dress accordingly, dress warm, maybe think about some rain gear that you can easily pack in a backpack, because on those bumpy rides, especially if you're sitting outside, you will get very wet and it's cold. Going to Isle Royale can be pricey. Even if you're not staying overnight, the ferries can run $50 to $100 depending on which ferry line you take. If you're staying at the Rock Harbor Lodge or staying in those Rock Harbor cottages, it's expensive. It's $200 to $300 a night. So plan accordingly. I would say it's worth it for sure. It is. And there are some fees that you have to pay to get in. So for instance, if you're going to stay, because you have your regular national park fees. Now, if you have one of those cool America the Beautiful passes, that's all you need. You and 3 other people can get in on that pass. If you don't have one of those passes, it's $7 a day. So just keep that in mind. Buy your food and your supplies on the mainland and then take them with you, because not only are those little stores not necessarily well stocked, it's expensive. It's island pricing. So
Jenny and I always stop at this grocery store outside of Houghton, and we would load up there because that was one, like the last big grocery store as you're going up the Keweenaw. And if you don't pack it, it's probably not going to be there. So
no,
especially if you like beer.
Yeah. So anything you want. So you do a little, meal plan ahead. Think about snacks you like. Think about the type of booze or non-boozy drinks that you might want to take with you. And those are the things, because you can take a big cooler. You can take some things with you on the boat. It's important that you read carefully the rules of each ferry line, because they have different rules when it comes to what you can pack and what you can take. So just keep that in mind. They will sometimes limit you to a certain number of pounds or number of bags or number of things. So read ahead for sure.
And if you're backpacking and you're taking a little stove with you, they will charge you extra for taking the stove, and you will have to, they'll pack it for you. Like they'll want you to take it out of your bag, and they will store it in a special place, and you'll get it back when you get on the island.
Yeah, because they don't want anything blowing up in the middle of Lake Superior, and I thank them for that. There isn't much cell service or Wi-Fi. So if you're planning on, going to take your computer up and get tons of work done while you're there, you're not. So no Wi-Fi. Depending on which part of the island you're on and how close you are to Minnesota, you might be able to get some cell service. I think Duncan didn't he? That one time we went on the Wendigo side. His was picking up, but the Rock Harbor side, not so much. So just keep that in mind. This second to last bit, and this is a really big one. Absolutely no pets at all are allowed on the island. None. Don't bring your dog. Don't bring your dog on the, and the reason that happened is that there were 40 some wolves there used to be on Isle Royale, and then some dummy brought his dog onto the island. He had a private boat. He brought his dog with him on the island. The dog had parvo. So, he had this dog who had parvo ended up infecting wolf, and that decimated, the population. So no pets. Keep your pets off the island. If you're on a private boat, leave your dog on the boat. Absolutely not. Okay. Keep that in mind. And finally, you guys, the last thing I want to say about Isle Royale is that it's so worth going. It really is. It's just a neat place. It's awesome. It's
so unique. It's so unique for Michigan. It's just a really unique, beautiful place. And, I certainly, Doug and I we're going to go there for a 20th anniversary, but it didn't work out. We went to Colorado instead. Anyway.
Yeah, man, brothers.
Thanks. But it is so beautiful, and I feel like Michigan should embrace it more, but it's very hard to get to. You have to. Whenever we plan the trip, like Jenny said, we make our reservations in February so we can get, not just so we can get on the island, but just so we can get a hotel in like Copper Harbor, because Copper Harbor in the winter has a population of 60 people. In the summer, it has a population of 300 people, and surprisingly, a dozen hotels and another 10 restaurants. But the only reason it can support that is because all of the people that go to Isle Royale. So you have to make sure, because you might get to Copper Harbor and like, hey, there's a dozen hotels. I can't get into one of them. The closest I can get is, Houghton, which is 100 miles away. So,
well, you might be able to land a bed and breakfast in Calumet. So
maybe. So that's the thing. It's like, you need a list, what do I need? Talk to somebody who's been there. Talk
to us. Because we've done 2 overnighters there, and then I've done 2 day trips. And I got to tell you, just putting this little slideshow together for today, I want to go back so bad. And I actually was kind of planning on doing a day trip. I had planned on maybe doing a day trip during the summer this year, but just didn't work out this summer because of all the COVID stuff.
You just have to buy a boat, Jenny, and learn how to, operate it, and then go there.
A giant body of water that is dynamic and dangerous, like Lake Superior. What could possibly go wrong? I know.
What could possibly go wrong?
Personal watercraft.
Take a personal watercraft and an extra thing of gas. You'll be fine.
It's fine. Sorry, I'm having visions of those, because remember when we took the day trip a couple years ago, that that ride back, there was like 6-foot waves that day. It was
Oh,
rocking.
yeah. It was rocky. I was like, I can't. Jenny was like, I love this. And I was like, oh, I can't wait till this is done. And I'm going to eat so many cookies when this is over with. I get the cookies out of the pack now, but they'll get all wet. I'm like, ugh, cookies.
I was so wet
I hate
at the end of that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I did. And I have to admit, that's one of the reasons I love this trip so much is I really love being out on Lake Superior. That's just I just think it's fascinating and awesome. And when I die, my ashes will go onto Lake Superior, even though I don't think I'm supposed to tell anybody that.
Okay. Also, when you go onto the Wendigo side and you take that one, they stop at like little places. You don't get off the boat, but you can see certain islands or lighthouses, and then you have like the witch tree, which is beautiful. It's a 400-year-old cedar, white cedar, amazing, which you can't see. It's on Native American land, so you can't hike to it. The only way you can see it is from the water. So just like cool stuff like that, even before you get to the island.
And then they also stop and you look at the American, which is a shipwreck. So they have a little area where there's a little shipwreck that you go over. And so I would say as far as enjoyable boat rides, the Wendigo boat ride is more enjoyable. A, it's shorter, and B, you go into that little bay where Wendigo is, and so there's lots of things to look at there. Once you get to the island, once you get to the island, it's another half hour, 40 minutes before you actually get into Wendigo. And it's cool because you get to see some really good wildlife, really great birds. And that's half the fun. And like I said, as far as seeing a moose, I've never seen a moose on the Rock Harbor side, but I have seen a couple of moose on the Wendigo side. So they kind of, there's a little, yes, there's a little river that comes out of the Wendigo side, and the campgrounds are kind of parked next to that river. And if you can find a nice quiet spot by that little river, you can usually spot a moose over there. So, and that's what I've done. We spotted the one that one year, and then I spotted one last year when I went. I just parked it and ate my lunch and by that little river and watched all the birds and the mergansers, and I got buzzed by a very large, I think it was I don't know if it was an eagle or not, but it was a good sized bird of prey. So it's cool. Anyway,
exactly.
So yeah, you guys, like I said, as far as Michigan's or MLive's list of the 20 natural wonders of Michigan, the fact that it's sitting at number 13 is a terrible travesty. But
yeah, the only reason I think I'm like, maybe because enough people haven't been to it, so they don't know how awesome it is. I mean, it's pretty easy to get to Sleeping Bear. It's easy to get to, so like, okay, that's number one. Or the sand dunes where you can do the dune buggy.
Warren Dunes, kidding? Gross.
Come on,
and the thing is, the Osable Dunes up in the UP are way cooler.
Way better.
Beautiful. Yeah. So if you happen to be in the UP and you want something dumb and fun to do, and we'll eventually talk about this, is the log slide, which is on the Osable Dunes. I've
done it twice, and I'm mad both times that I did it. And the only reason I did it is because she did it, and she's like, I was going to sit at the top and watch like people go down and make fun of them, and she's like, I'm here, I have to do it, and she charges down and like, damn it, now I have to go down all the way down and all the way back up. I got sand in my crack, I got sand everywhere. Yeah, so it's, definitely, if I can do it twice, anybody can do it. I was like, oh, I'm going to end up on CNN on a helicopter as they hoist me out of this place. If I can do it, you can do it.
It is effective. There's signage as you get to the log slide is effective because there's all these signs, ambulances, and do not do this. Like, you need to be very fit. If you're not young and fit, don't do this. I don't know. Anyway, so I think we've talked your ear off about, as you can see, you guys, Isle Royale is a big one for us because it's just amazing. Yeah. And again, if you have questions about things you should do, if you get to, the wintertime and you decide this is something you'd like to do and you have questions, contact us, you guys. We are available, again, as always, at smartdumbfun@gmail.com. And I'll happily send you, I think I probably still have my checklist of all this stuff to do, so tucked away somewhere. So, do so. I have good news, ladies and gentlemen. We will be back tomorrow. We've got, again, because of Ann's new work schedule, we had to kind of change things up. So instead of doing our Friday afternoon club, we are doing, are you ready? Bar Thursday, Friday Eve celebration. Okay, so we'll be back tomorrow, 5 o'clock. What is it? Yeah, 5 o'clock Central, 6 o'clock Eastern. We will be featuring, is it the Bellini tomorrow?
It's the Bellini, yes.
Okay, and
Because I
then
had champagne and pineapple juice in my refrigerator. I was like, yeah, Bellinis.
all right. So we're gonna be doing pineapple Bellinis tomorrow. I know traditionally Bellinis are made with peach, but you can make it with anything you want as long as you got some champagne.
Exactly.
Make it with some pineapple juice. And then we will be discussing and dissecting the movie, the classic Coen Brothers movie, Raising Arizona, because it's one of the best comedies ever. Ever. Oh, wait,
It is.
we got some commentary. All right. Aaliyah Berube is still with us. She's like, when is your next live? It's tomorrow, Berubes. It's at 5 o'clock. So make sure you're there where we will discuss the movie Raising Arizona and why I believe it is literally one of the top 3 comedies ever made. We are drinking Bellinis tomorrow. Berube Bellinis are basically whatever fruit juice you have and champagne. They're good. Okay, right on. Thanks for joining us today, guys. Thanks for letting us talk your ears off about Isle Royale. If you have any questions, let us know. If you want to know about the history and geology of Isle Royale, we can answer a bunch of those questions too. All right, cool.
All right.
Have a great night, guys. Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday.
Bye.